Middletown, West Virginia. It's Between Two Twigs with your host, Susan Jennings-Lance.
Well, hello. We're back. This is Dr. Susan Jennings-Lance. I'm here on our version of Between Two Ferns that we are calling Between Two Twigs. And I'm here today with a really interesting person. His name is Dr. Graham Peace, and he's the former chair of the MIS program, but now he's the Associate Dean for Students in the College of Business and Economics at West Virginia University. He teaches MIS. Welcome, Dr. Peace.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. What does MIS stand for? What is this MIS thing?
Absolutely. It's Management Information Systems. So it stands for Management Information Systems. And really what it is the information system that runs the organization. And when you think about organizations today, somewhere somebody's building this chair, right? Somewhere somebody's building a lamp. Okay? Those people are doing the physical things of an organization. But above them are the managers, the management structure. Those people are making decisions, they're gathering information, they're processing it, they're distributing information. That is the management information system. They use that in order to distribute that information where it should be. So when you think about it, information is really the lifeblood of a business because there's only a few people who are really doing physical things. The rest of the organization is dealing with information. We're the people who get the right information to the right people.
Okay, so it's the knowledge end of operations, basically.
Yeah, in a way, and it involves a technical side because obviously in today's world, all of the information is in computer systems, on the internet, in your databases. So you have to understand the technical side of things, but you also have to understand how the information flows and what information is needed by what people.
So in my former job, I was in human resources, and we spent a couple of years trying to get together an applicant tracking system. So that instead of sending in a paper resume, you would actually go online and you would apply, okay, and that document, which is no longer a piece of paper, would go to the person who's screening applications.
Exactly.
And the person who would maybe send back something saying, hey, we got your application, or hey, we got your application and we want to do a background check. And then it would go to the hiring manager, and then they would do some screening. And then it would go to the level of, we're going to have an interview, and we need more information. And it would pop back to the person. And eventually it would go to the hiring manager, and they would sign off, and it would all happen electronically. Yep. Now that sounds like, the way it should work, right? But it was an incredibly labor-intensive job to get that together because people had been turning in paper applications for so long, and people were literally carrying applications over to one place or carrying applications somewhere else, and they went to somebody's desk or a PDF was sent. And it took a long time to get it into a system that was automatic and skipped a lot of steps and didn't force you to reinvent the wheel, as it were, or make copies. It became a truly paperless system. But at the same time, it had to deal with making sure that we met the mandate set forth by the EEOC, and that we made sure that people were able to be hired because they had met the criteria to be hired, and make sure that we had done our due diligence in sourcing people, that we weren't just handing out jobs to Cousin Fred or things like that. And so it became a very complex thing. And what you're saying is that's just one piece of the pie?
That is just one piece of the pie. So human resource information systems are a subset, really, of your entire MIS, your entire management information system. So it is a very complex piece, and that's a unique one in a way in that it's so governed by regulations, EEOC, HIPAA can get involved, all those types of things. So that one has outside sort of pressure on it to do things certain ways. But yeah, that's a great example of an information system. And what we try to do in information systems is, number one, reduce cost, right? Everything we do is trying to reduce cost or increase profit, right? You want to do one or the other.
Because it's business.
It's business, absolutely. So you can automate things in order to reduce cost. You can make things more efficient as well to reduce cost and also to improve performance. I think a great example, and one that I think students can relate to, is we've all been to Sheetz now or Kroger or wherever, and you check yourself out, right? So what they've done there, for instance, is they've eliminated a person who used to be there, right? Used to be, a college kid probably earning minimum wage, standing at a counter.
We just taped with Judge Glock, and he said that's what he did when he was in school.
There you go.
So,
I think think most of us did, right?
We've
That's why we earned
eliminated
some
Judge
money.
Block, yeah.
We've eliminated those people. So you're eliminating the person. You're also making it more efficient in that the person is doing the self-checkout. So they are actually identifying what it is they are buying, and you know who they are. So now we're gaining more information from the system.
Who they are because that little card that we
Absolutely.
swipe gives us 3
Yes.
cents off of our gas or
Exactly.
something. Yeah.
So now we've made a system that is more efficient and saves us money because we've eliminated the person, right? And there are ethics around that, and I teach an information ethics class that discusses those types of ethical issues. But we've also allowed our system to gather more information, and now we can make better decisions. So we're going to become a more profitable company if we use our data properly, and now we have that data there available to us. A great example is McDonald's. They're going to be going to kiosks in McDonald's.
In China, when I was there last year, they already were.
Yep, Germany, same thing. Well, one of the things they're talking about is there's going to be a camera there that's going to use facial recognition technology. So it's going to know who you are, even if you haven't told it who you are. And it's going to match that up against a database, right? And then it will suggest to you, hey, last time you were here, you ordered French fries. Why don't you order French fries again? If
We know you like the
ordered?
French
We know you
fries
like the
there,
French fries,
Susan
right?
Lance.
You
Yeah.
got a medium last time, you got a large. Why do you want a large? So it can also help us to increase our sales by using the information technology and the system, and most importantly, the data that we now have available for our system. So that's an example of where information systems can make a direct impact on the profitability of an organization and the performance of an organization.
Well, that's really interesting. And so I'm just thinking of all the different myriad of ways that can hit. I mean, not just in a place like human resources, but in medical fields. Like when I go to the doctor and they're like, are you still taking this medication? Or are you doing this? Are you doing that? Or, I mean, you know, obviously in sales, but it's ubiquitous. It's all over the place, isn't it?
It is, and technology is ubiquitous. Everything, you know, our fridge is gathering information. If you have one of those little robotic vacuum cleaners that's wandering around your house, that's actually gathering information on the layout of your house and maybe sending that back to somebody who's interested in that information. So all of this information...
Sweep your own floor, people.
Exactly. All this information in the Internet of Things, which is what we call it, is being gathered. And some organizations are figuring out how do we use that data in order to become a more profitable business. It sounds sort of evil. I don't want to make it sound like it's horribly unethical and horribly evil. Those are conversations that we have to have, and there are instances, obviously, where people have felt that unethical things are happening. But on the whole, a lot of this information is being used so businesses can operate better and provide better services to their customers. And if you can do that better than your competitor, then you're going to do well.
So I have sleep apnea. So that means I stop breathing in the middle of the night. So I have to wear this machine and I look Darth Vader. It's very exciting. Yeah. It's like, but my husband has it too. So it's like great times at our house. Everybody puts their machine on and we all look like we're in space. And he got his machine 10 years ago. Okay. It's just your basic machine. My machine has an app on it, or it has a thing that will send my phone information about how many times I stop breathing in the night, right?
Right.
And so now I can, and it'll tell me how long I used the machine, and it'll tell me how many times I stopped breathing, and how many times I took the mask off. Okay, so somewhere somebody's recording how many times I got to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, which is a rather intimate thing, and I'm not quite sure I really want to share that with everybody.
That's right. There are certainly ethical issues. Privacy is a major concern. Now, what's interesting is when we look at studies, to you and me, people our age, and I'm older than you, I think, but people our age,
not much.
Privacy is an issue to us. To the younger generation, privacy is no longer an issue. And so they don't care about those types of things. So there is a generational aspect to the privacy issues. But privacy is a concern. Who has access to that information is a concern. It's all being gathered. It's all being put somewhere. Who should know what you're doing in the middle of the night? Your doctor, probably. Your friends, probably not. Right, so those are issues, and then we get into more advanced issues such as hacking and fake news and information. Yeah, exactly. It is an informational issue. I mean, it is information. That's what we deal with. And we actually have an information ethics class for those students that are interested and can come to campus. That's my favorite thing, frankly, is information ethics. We hold formal debates on these types of issues. Artificial intelligence is going to be the next big thing. So these information systems, where right now they're gathering data and people are still making the decisions, artificial intelligence will soon make those decisions for us. Is there an ethical issue there that a computer is going to be making a decision regarding what you like, your sales, etc.
Artificial intelligence doesn't always get it right, does it?
That's exactly right.
I mean, I keep thinking of, some people have gone so far as to say Michael Lewis kind of indicates that the stock market crash of 2008 kind of happened because we were paying a little too much attention to the artificial intelligence.
That's exactly right.
Now, I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm going to say Michael Lewis said it, not me. But that's what he's saying, right?
That's true. And that was very basic artificial intelligence. That was really just a program that when certain indicators hit certain levels, they should sell or buy or things along those lines. And it spiraled out of control. Nobody had thought about the implication. And that's what people like Bill Gates are saying is, are we really considering all the implications of a much more advanced machine that will really truly make decisions? And more than that, it will learn from its decisions. Back in 2008, it was a static sort of system that just reacted. We now have systems that are learning as they go. Now, they do make better decisions. When you look at Uber, for instance, if you have a driverless Uber car, the driverless car makes is involved in far less accidents. Far fewer accidents than a human. They're just better at it. But they do have accidents, and then who's responsible?
Right.
And it gets even more in depth when you think about, okay,
and
I'm the programmer.
RoboCop,
exactly.
RoboCop is like,
right. So what though?
What if I can put the clip of RoboCop in the middle of this?
There
somewhere?
you go. Absolutely. Paul Weller, the original one, or the new
original
one? The original one's so much better.
Yeah.
But you look at artificial intelligence driving a car. Someone somewhere is programming that artificial intelligence.
Right.
And sometime in the future, the artificial intelligence is going to have to make a decision to protect the driver or an innocent pedestrian. Does it crash the car into the wall and kill the driver, or does it swerve and save the driver and kill the pedestrian? MIS people are the ones making those decisions in the system.
Do you want to play a game?
Yes, exactly. War games from way back when, Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
Right? So the MIS world, we are very aware that we are creating these ethical scenarios, and we are acting in a way as God when we are putting in these rules to artificial intelligence programs. So that is a whole subset of artificial intelligence that the people outside of the MIS world maybe are not talking about as much.
But I have to admit, Google says to me, hey, Susan Lance, you got to be at work in 15 minutes.
Yep.
The best
way
to go is this way. Or when I get on Waze and I'm on a trip and it says, hey, you know what? There's an accident up here. We're going to route you around these back roads so that you can get to where you're going faster. I like that. It's nice.
You know what's going to be more interesting is in a few years' time, and this has already been demoed at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, you're actually going to wear a headset and you're going to think questions to Google, and it is going to go out into the internet, find the information, and bring it back into your head, and you're going to hear it. So it is going to, in your ear, say, you are late for a meeting, you need to take this route. And you can think to yourself,
shut up, Google.
Okay, I want to go by this, store or whatever, and it will reroute it and tell you without anybody speaking.
If that's happening right now, we take you to the doctor.
Right now, yes. But you can actually look it up. It's been shown on 60 Minutes and some other places.
I'm scared.
But MIT actually has a headset. It actually reads your brainwaves. And you think.
Skynet is happening.
It is Skynet. I tell you, it is slightly worrying when you think about it.
Yeah.
We're 10 years away from that.
Oh, well, 10 years.
It's
By then, I'll
quick.
be 59 years old.
Absolutely.
Be able to retire.
So it also brings up interesting ethical dilemmas as we use technology to replace people. Okay, we've replaced minimum wage jobs at Kroger. But what about when we have true driverless automobiles and driverless trucks? Now we're replacing 20,000 drivers at FedEx. I'm not saying they're doing that. That's just an example, right? All of those people now are out of a job, well-paying, good jobs that help families. How do we take care of those people? What are the jobs for them?
I read somewhere an interview with the guy who's the technology writer for BuzzFeed, that the driverless car is going to be the single biggest economic change in the next 20 years. Because it also is going to affect all the people who run the gas stations and the truck stops.
That's exactly right.
And the people who, like I was just talking to actually the dean of our college yesterday. He was like, think about it. If you have a driverless car and you're going to drive to Florida, what do? Swirl your chair around and play cards with your kids on your way to Disneyland? I mean, and that would be kind of cool. That would be family time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it
But-
has excellent implications to it.
Yeah.
And John Chambers, who is one of our alumni of the College of Business, of course, head of Cisco, which is a major technology organization, our former head, he's talked about how cars will become basically commodities, that you're not going to own a car. A car is just going to come pick you up and take you to where you need to go. We're
Like
going to have
Uber
a public,
or-
like Uber, exactly,
Yeah.
but with no humans involved. You're going to think it into Google, it's going to find an Uber for you, bring it to your house, you'll get in, it'll drop you off
Have you
wherever.
read Ready Player One?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the movie either.
Yeah.
I don't know if the movie.
It might scare you based on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a different world. Now, it's not necessarily a bad world, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different world. I do want to make one point very clear, because we're talking a lot about technology. MIS people are not computer scientists.
Okay.
So the computer scientists are the ones who are creating the technology. They're building the next iPhone, building the driverless car. They're programming the next operating system. In the MIS world, what we do is we take what they create and we use it to solve business problems.
Okay.
So we are very much problem solvers who understand both the business side and the technology side. Computer scientists do their thing in the tech side, and the more we understand technology, the better we are as an MIS person. But we are business people who understand technology and can use that technology to solve business problems. So it is not sitting in a cubicle programming all day. That's not what MIS people do. We interact with business people, find out what problems they have.
I
and
always
solve
think
them.
I have an uncle who worked at Bell Labs back in the 50s and 60s, and he was, I think, an excellent computer programmer.
Yeah,
But
it's an amazing place, Bell Labs, back then.
yeah, but in terms of having a nice chat on Thanksgiving, he just
Yes.
wasn't there. His communication
Yeah.
skills were not necessarily at the level that mine are.
Yes.
Because he was excellent at being a computer programmer at Bell Labs in the
That's
60s,
right.
right?
And nothing against them.
No. But, and a great guy. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not, you know. So what you're saying, though, is that the MIS people are kind of the conduit between the people who are able to
Exactly.
get in there and program and think and know JavaScript and know all these languages.
Exactly.
They're also able to kind of interpret what's going on in that world
Yep.
and the world of the user, which is somebody like me
Exactly.
who wants to build a human resources applicant tracking system that will make sure that we've met all the mandates by the EEOC.
Exactly. And one of the things we talk about with our students is our goal is to meet the user needs. Users have needs. Now, sometimes they can't articulate those needs. Everyone tells you what they want, they don't tell you what they need. So part of what we do in our first task is we go into a situation, we determine what are the user needs, what do they actually need, and it's almost always information. It's almost always information. Unless you are, again, the person building the chair. If you're a manager, you want information. So we then analyze where is the information, how do we build a system to get the information if we don't have it, and how do we get that information to the user in a format that works for them, a spreadsheet, maybe a chart, things along those lines. People see things better visually than they do numbers, so can we develop a visualization tool for them to see the data? So that's basically what we do. You have to be very good at solving problems, you have to have excellent communication skills, because you're talking to the user and you're also talking to the technologists, which is a different type of communication, as you said.
Right.
And you also have to understand the technology, because I need to manage programmers and I need to manage developers so that I can tell them this is what we need. So I have to understand what it is they do and what's feasible and what's not feasible. So it's a wonderful world if you like change, if you like things that are different all the time, if you like new technologies, if you like playing with toys, that's what we talk to people about, if you like problem solving, it's a great field to go into. If you don't like change, it is not the field for you.
It's not a stagnant field.
It is not a stagnant field.
So, but the thing is, for the person who's not necessarily going into this as a career, but
Yes.
for the person who is like the human resources professional or the accountant or the marketing person, they still have to kind of keep abreast and know about these trends, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because number one, you have to be able to talk to your MIS people. And
Right.
the more you know about what goes on with information technology, data, information systems, the more you can talk to your MIS person and explain to them, this is what I'm looking for. This is, I know my job better than you. This is what I think we need. And can you do that with me? Can you work with me? So if you can work better with the information systems people, you are going to have a better relationship and you will get a better product for that meets your user needs, basically. The second thing is, there is a huge shortage of MIS people. I mean, there are jobs all over the place. Our students, we basically have 100% placement.
Now, these are students who are on campus.
These are students
who,
on
who
campus.
major in MIS,
Yes,
which is, yeah.
I'm afraid there is no online program yet. We're trying to build some online classes, but we aren't there yet, and it will be a while. We have a huge demand on campus for our MIS classes. But those students, yes, there's basically 100% 100% placement, highest ever starting salary in the College of Business. They all get jobs. There's a shortage of these people. So if you are an accountant or a human resources person and you understand technology, you have a heads up on everyone else in your department, and you can be incredibly valuable to your company.
Yeah, I know in my time, and I've told you this story before, but in my time in human resources, one of the big differentials that we noticed after a while was that, I was somebody who'd had a computer. I'm 49, and in the early '80s, my father brought home a VIC-20 computer and with a cassette deck.
Ooh, yep.
Yeah, it was pretty basic. Yeah, it was just one step above an abacus.
Yep.
But anyway, and I've always had a computer since then, right? And the people who were just even 2 or 3 years older than I was did not have that opportunity.
That's right.
And as a result, I wasn't afraid of the computer. I understood how the computer worked, but the people who were just a little bit older than I was were having a terrible time with it. And it became kind of a generational thing. So I think that as much as a person can learn about technology, the better to use it. And being in an online class actually is a very good start.
It is. Absolutely. You're using the technology to aid in the learning process. An important thing with MIS is recognizing who understands what's going on. And Intel, which obviously makes a lot of the chips that are used today in computers, one of the things they did early on that put them well ahead of their competitors is they identified the individuals who understood the technology and understood the way it would impact the world. And it didn't matter what level of the organization they were at, but they had those people making the key decisions, or at least involved in the key decisions. And that's a model that you see in successful information technology companies. Is it might be a high school kid, it might be the youngest kid you've got in your organization, but if they understand how social media is going to impact their business, or how this new chip or artificial intelligence, they're the people you need in the room. So it's very important, and if you are one of the people who has that knowledge, you're going to be incredibly valuable to your company.
So you're saying it's not necessarily a bad thing to be on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat?
Not necessarily. If you understand how those things can impact your business, and more importantly, what's coming next, then you could be very valuable. Absolutely.
All right. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you want the folks in this class to know?
I'll just give you a brief rundown of our program so people understand what it is we do. We start out with a database management systems course because you have to understand the database. That's where all of the information is stored. We have a networking course because obviously in today's world everything is networked, the internet obviously, so you need to know how that works. We do have a programming course. Most of our students do not become programmers, but they must understand programming, and it teaches problem solving, frankly. Programming teaches problem solving. We then have a year-long systems analysis and design program where they go in, we find them real-world business problems, they identify the user needs, and then they develop the system that gets the right information to the right person. We like all our students to do an internship. One thing I would recommend to anybody outside of MIS, right, go do an internship. It's one of the best things you can do as a student. And then we have an information ethics class, and we have a network security class. We have other options for them as electives. MIS is all of that. It's everything. So it's a huge major, which again, the exciting piece is you can find the niche that you love. I love databases. That's what I want to do. Right? I couldn't care less about
databases.
Loves databases. Databases are the best, but I hate networking. I could not care how two computers talk to each other. It doesn't interest me at all. But I can find my piece. For a lot of students, that's a wonderful thing because they can find the piece they're interested in. For a lot of students, it's not because they want to know this is what you're going to do. This is what they want it a little more prescriptive. So it's not for everyone, but it is important for everyone to understand it.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time
You're
here
welcome.
today. This has been fascinating. I could talk about it for hours.
Me too.
And, well, it's a good thing you went into it as a career. But anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.